Hello everyone, it's me, Pippi Pawpaw. Today I will be sharing with you some Undertale theories. Because, in case you didn't know, I actually really like Undertale. I've played every route except for Genocide, every major route. I've heard a lot about Deltarune, I've watched some Undertale theories. I've played a little bit of fan games for those of you who remember the annoying dog fight. That I posted a while back. Today I have 3 theories to share with you. And I'm just gonna get straight into it. Now, remember, before we start, these are not, huge theories. I am not game theory. These are some of my first theories. I don't want to say it's not factually based. It's based on fact and what we know, but this is my first theory. It might not be as thorough as other theories you've heard. But don't click off yet. I think you'll find some of these very, very interesting. Alright, let's get into it. First one, Gaster's many appearances. So, there's a lot of debate over who Gaster is, what Gaster looks like. Because I think Mystery Man was popularized by game theory. Yep. But there's also Redacted. There's a Gaster follower who claims to be holding a piece of Gaster's soul. Maybe that's what he looks like. Who knows? Maybe Squeezo is Gaster. I don't even know who Squeezo is, but I'm just throwing that out there because why the heck not? But here's my theory. My theory is that they are all Gaster. Now hear me out. In Undertale, or I don't know if it's directly said, but Gaster was, quote, fell into his own creation and was shattered across space and time. So my thoughts are, if Gaster is shattered, meaning he himself is in pieces, then he might look different. Different parts of his soul might take on different forms. For example, your evil twin might look a little different from you because they're, evil. Also, he only appears once max per playthrough. So, once, if at all. And the fun value, for those of you who don't know, it's a value that rolls a random number at the beginning of each playthrough. Depending on what number it is, different things may or may not happen. But the existence of fun value kind of implies that each playthrough could be a different timeline. So if we're going on the idea that each playthrough is a different timeline, now the whole Flowey talking to you at the end of the thing at the end of the game kind of ruins this a little, because he's talking about it yeah, or maybe he's talking like we're still in the same timeline, because Flowey clearly has powers over time. Or maybe as the all-powerful player, we just move on. When we do a true reset, maybe we just, maybe we just move on to a different timeline, move on to a timeline in which the true pacifist ending hasn't already been unlocked. But anyways, so yeah, if we're considering each playthrough a different timeline, then it's possible that because of the existence of different timelines, Gaster may look different in each timeline. And let me say this, even if there were 2 different Gasters in one timeline, the previous evidence about his soul being in pieces still holds, just due to the fact that, like, his being in pieces still holds due to the fact that just doesn't have anything to do with time. But also, they said he was shattered across space and time. Being shattered across space and time kind of leads me to believe that he is on a plane, that Gaster now exists on a plane above time. So I don't think that's an issue. But yeah, that's why I think Gaster is Mystery Man and Redacted and the piece of Gaster's soul that the Gaster follower claims to be holding. I'm leaving out Squeezo because I don't know who the heck that is. Alright. Theory number 2. Deltarune is before Undertale. I'm not saying it's a prequel, I'm saying it's before. There's a theory circulating that Chris is the human we see in the Undertale intro. So this opens the possibility of Deltarune having happened before Undertale, because if that is Chris in the intro, then that means Chris would have been alive during the war that sealed the monsters underground, which means he would have been alive well before Undertale takes place. And yes, Deltarune... Okay, so in case you guys don't know, well, according to game theory, Deltarune is a parallel universe where the monsters did not get sealed underground. I mean, there's still Lightners and Darkners, but that's a whole can of worms for another day. It's still possible for Deltarune to come first. It might just end up being, like, the only difference that we know of between the Deltarune and Undertale universes is that Deltarune is at a time when is a time when the war did not happen. Is a universe in which the war between humans and monsters did not happen. And, so yeah. Another one is Azrael's alive. So this has to be... So basically, my logic being, this has to be before Undertale. Because Azrael... In Undertale, Azrael needs the power of the 6 human souls and every monster soul in the underground to stay as Azrael. So if he's staying as Azrael, unless he has some secret stockpile of souls that we don't know about, it has to be before Undertale. And age implications don't matter because, first of all, Well, it seems that we are supposed to be led to believe that Asgore and Toriel were both alive. Were both alive when the monsters got sealed underground anyways, so there's no reason to believe that they wouldn't still be alive in the present day. Also because we don't know what monster lifespans are. So even if there is evidence for monsters to have shorter lifespans than humans, we have no way of knowing that. So I'm just going to say that it doesn't matter. Gaster is in. So here, now you might be thinking, why then would Papyrus and Sans be in Deltarune? Because if you've listened to game theory, the theory is that Sans and Papyrus were once a part of Gaster, and basically, because they just came into town one day and asserted themselves. So basically, that kind of implies that Sans and Papyrus, for the most part, were not alive at the same time as Gaster, and definitely weren't alive before they got sealed underground. Now, first of all, it's entirely possible that Gaster was keeping them hidden from the rest of the underground for reasons, but I'm just throwing ideas out there. The more possible option, and so you might be thinking, how would Sans and Papyrus be in Deltarune? Well, my proposal, and the solution to why the only thing different about the Deltarune universe is that the monster-human war was avoided. The reason why that's the only thing that changed is according to a lot of stuff that game theory said, that if Gaster was heavily involved with the determination experiments, so we most likely created the Deltarune universe. So if he created the Deltarune, and game theory noticed that Gaster said in entry 17, this next experiment will be very, very interesting. I'm sure many of you have heard that line before, and also in juxtaposition with Gaster having also recited those lines the night before Deltarune released. This game theory has theorized that when Gaster mentions an experiment, he's talking about Deltarune. So my theory as to why Sans and Papyrus are alive, and the only thing different about Deltarune is that the human-monster war never happened, is that said experiment was supposed to be an experimenting with the idea of what if humans and monsters just got along. And he didn't go so far as to make much of anyone in his current life not exist. He did not necessarily make it time accurate. Oh, and before, also to back this up, there's also King Spade. There's also like all the Deltarune exclusive characters. There's all those people. So it's entirely possible that by the time that Undertale, so it's entirely and like for those of you who have heard of Undertale Yellow, many characters are very different, and it's only one soul ago. So it's entirely possible that by present-day Undertale, that Deltarune characters were alive before Undertale characters, and that Lightners and Darkners were alive before the hierarchy, before humans and monsters. And it's entirely possible that by present-day Undertale, all the Deltarune exclusive characters are dead. All the Undertale exclusive characters have been born, and that the hierarchy has shifted from Lightners over Darkners to humans over monsters. So yeah, I came up with that last bit just now. the bit about yeah, and that's the end of that theory. That's the longest theory, and probably I would say probably the most well-backed theory I have. My last theory: Sans helped make Deltarune. And you might be asking, what do you mean by make? Well, as we just previously mentioned, it has been theorized that the universe of Deltarune was created by W.D. Gaster. So, yeah. And here's the thing. The main idea that sparked this theory for me is that Deltarune is in lowercase. I'm not joking. This was my sole reason for thinking of this. Because here's the thing. For those of you who don't know, and for those of you who do know, Sans canonically speaks and writes in lowercase and without proper punctuation. Because, first of all, Undertale is in all caps, Deltarune is in all lowercase. But second of all, Deltarune isn't even capitalized, so guess what? That's what is known as lowercase spelling. But, yeah. Other evidence, like, you might be thinking, okay, but why? So, according to, again, I'm sourcing a lot of game theory. These are really extensions of pre-existing theories that I've heard. According to game theory, we already mentioned in the last theory that Sans and Papyrus are theorized to be part of Gaster, and by the lowercase lab entries in the True Lab, Sans helped with was very much involved with a lot of this darker stuff. So basically, Gaster was heavily involved with Deltarune, as we already know. Sans was involved with the determination experiments, which were Alphys's doing, but partially Gaster, because it sounds like we've theorized that he created the blueprint, that Gaster created the blueprints that Alphys followed, and Sans was just involved with Gaster in general. But the big thing that holds this entire theory together is Deltarune Sans. You know why? Because game theory, again, I mostly listened to game theory. I got most of these theories. Most of the theories I'm expanding upon are originally started from game theory. Not a lot, but I'm referencing game theory a lot. So, yeah, according to game theory, basically, Deltarune Sans, on a surface level, he says, I don't know you, and winks, and he only winks, and in Undertale, Sans only winks when he's lying about the extent of his time-based knowledge. So basically, they've theorized Deltarune Sans is aware of the existence of other Sanses. But here's the thing. You might be thinking, if Deltarune is a created universe, how would we know? How would he know that there are other Sanses? Well, my theory is that the nail in the coffin on this insane, wild theory is that if Sans helped make the Deltarune universe, then if Sans was involved to some extent, that is the only way that Deltarune Sans would know that other Sanses exist. So my thought is that Deltarune Sans is aware of the presence of other Sanses in other timelines because Undertale Sans helped make the universe that Deltarune Sans lives in. So yeah, that's my theory. Please tell me if you enjoyed it. Please tell me if you think I should post more theories. I mean, I make no promises. I really am probably only going to come out with these as fast as I think of them, but I will try. Yeah, and sorry if this doesn't end up having a lot of creative visuals. I just really more excited about sharing the theory, so this really might end up coming with a slightly more boring background. Sorry for that if that bothers you, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed my theory. So yeah, thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye.